101 review. Book 101 is all about the books that I read for the last 40 years. And today I have my special guest. She's a gut health expert using fermented foods to fix digestion, energy, and mood. And she's the author of the upcoming book, The Gaps of Fermentation, other than Miss Michelle Heberling.
Hi, Daniel. I'm so happy to be here and excited to share my book with your audience.
Yes, welcome, Miss Michelle, on Book 101 Review. And can you please introduce more about yourself that I miss?
Absolutely. I have to go way back. As a little girl, I lived on a farm in Oklahoma, and we ate what we grew and what we raised. We didn't go to
Mm-hmm.
grocery stores, and that kind of food really stays with you. I mean, we would share a chicken once a week. I
Okay.
mean, you didn't have chicken 3 times a day, every single day of the week. You had it once a week. And there were 5 of us kids and my mom and dad. So if you fast forward to where I am today, I've seen the food movement change dramatically from when I was a little girl to today. And with that, our health crisis has just turned out to be crazy.
True.
So, as a project manager, I'm really that's what my that's my background is project management, and I used to travel all over the world helping companies automate their services, their work, and I was blown away by how flavorful and how clean the food tasted from all
Mm-hmm.
over. And then I would come back to the US and it would be all flat. Um, and didn't have a lot of flavor, didn't do anything for your bodies. And I just kept watching everybody get sick. And then uh, when I moved to San Francisco, that's when the food movement was really hitting hard. That was like 30 years ago. Michael Pollan came out with a book called Omnivore's Dilemma. Did you ever read it?
Not yet, but I heard it. And I want to, for sure, to read it.
Omnivore's Dilemma was a huge component into my world with food sovereignty because he basically said what I was experiencing and put words to how I felt. And one
Mm-hmm.
of the things he said 30 years ago was you vote with your fork 3 times a day.
Mm-hmm.
And 30 years ago, you're like, yeah, what does that really mean? Do you really vote with your fork 3 times a day? But look, it's been 30 years and look at where our food is today. We have columbines that till our soils, that kill all the microbes in the ground. We have outsourced our food to 4 huge corporations. We have outsourced our health. Everybody is looking for faster, easier, quicker, ready in 90 seconds. So our
True.
grocery stores are not loaded with a lot of produce, they're loaded with a lot of processed foods. And
Mm-hmm.
so I got really sick, and my doctors, they were throwing medicines at me left and right, and I wasn't getting better. And not only that, I was depressed. I hit a critical time where depression was really hard. And so I had a therapist working with me. And I really wish she would have said, Michelle, just eat fermented foods. Because
Mm-hmm.
when I started taking control of my food, started eating fermented foods, coming up with a rhythm, my my body completely changed in 2 weeks. It was incredible. It went from I was depleted, I was stressed, I was depressed, I had no energy, I had brain fog, to um, going back to food as medicine. And I've done a lot of, I moved out of the tech world and started catering food for people. And I would do off grid events. And when you do an off grid event, you eat a lot of fermented foods. So I watched people transform right before my eyes in like 4 days. And it was incredible because they started off stressed out, and then you watched them get grounded, happy, calm, and even healed. And I was like, that's got to be the food. So
Mm.
when I was going through this, I went back to basics and I started eating my fermented foods. And I came up with a process. I do the warm water in the morning with salt and lemon, and then I eat fermented food 3 times a day, and it's only like a teaspoon to 2 tablespoons. You don't need a lot. And then I add diversity to my plate of food, like 30 different types of plants, vegetables, seeds, grains each week. And it's really easy to hit the number 30, but that's kind of a magic number from a scientist standpoint. To uh, um, uh, taking time eating at the table, not in front of the TV, doing movements, and having belly laughs. And
Belly
all of
love.
these, yeah, belly laughs, because what that does, your lemon water and salt, and the warm lemon water with salt gets your bile moving in the morning, but you need everything moving all day long. And if you can find that you do a belly laugh once a day, you're going to feel a lot better. And here's the crazy thing: dopamine isn't created in your brain, it's created in your gut. Dopamine is happy. So
Mm-hmm.
if you're eating what your microbes need in your belly, it tells your brain to be happy. It's called the gut brain axis, and it is a proven science. It's been going on forever. So it was really exciting to put all this in practice and watch how I transformed. And I
Mm-hmm.
felt so compelled to it. I was already writing a fermentation book, and my book has 127 recipes in it. Most people only know of kimchi and sauerkraut and maybe kvass, but
Mm-hmm.
127 recipes from all over the world, because fermentation has been in practice for thousands of years, not in the US. Hardly any, I have the origin of every recipe in my book. And I probably, out of 127 recipes, I probably have five that are from the US. Everything else is from all over the world. So I talk a little bit about that in the book as well.
Interesting, Miss Michelle. So, the title is wonderfully direct. The gas fermentation. For someone who thinks of fermentation as something that happens in a crock on the counter, can you explain what is the continuous internal fermentation process actually is and why it is the cornerstone of our health?
Yes, I would love to. So I think a lot of people get confused. They think canning is fermentation or fermentation is canning. So fermentation is your vegetable submerged in water with salt and time. You need time to make it happen. And um, when you do that, your microbes that are in that jar, because it's live, uh, they colonize, and you get more microbes, and then those microbes go into your body. You don't cook fermented foods. Sourdough is a ferment, but it's cooked, so it's not. Most of the time, fermented foods is raw.
Mm-hmm.
uh, Canning, you and the salt and keeping it submerged underwater is how you keep the bad bacteria out of it. And we'll talk about that in just a minute. Just to do the comparison, a jar of fermented carrots versus a can of fermented carrots. The jar of fermented carrots, it's the salt and the water that submerges the carrots, and that's how the bacteria grows, the good bacteria. With a can of carrots that you seal it and protect it by pasteurization, by killing the microbes, by killing all bacteria. And then that is what becomes shelf stable. So it's a great way to preserve food, but it's not a great way to help your guts. So, yeah, you need live microbes to heal your gut, and you get that with fermented foods. And yes, your fermented foods also includes mead and beer and wine. But in today's discussion, we're talking about fermented foods that eat to heal your gut. And alcohol isn't the best thing for microbes. In fact, this is a
Mm-hmm.
funny fact. If you go on a binge and drink and you wake up hungover, it's normally, they think, you think it's you're dehydrated, but truly what it is you've just killed the microbes in your gut, and it takes 2 to 3 days to get those microbes back.
Mm.
Crazy, right?
Crazy,
I
yes.
always thought it was water. Not that I'm ever hungover, but um, that was my younger days.
Oh my goodness. Yeah, so interesting facts, Miss Michelle. Go ahead.
Yeah, so just to talk a little bit about what happened in what's the story on microbes and what does this really mean? Well, there were two guys, there were contemporaries back in the 19th century in France. One guy's name was Louis Pasteur. The
Mm-hmm.
other guy's name was Antonio Bencamp. They both studied microbes and disease, but they interpreted their findings very differently. Pasteur advanced germ theory. I mean, he was like, microbes cause diseases. He was like,
Mm.
microbes cause disease. And that's kind of where we came out with sanitation and vaccination and pasteurization. And corporate really liked that thought because now they're making money based on, medicine. But Ben Camp had a very different story. He was asking a very different question in this whole thing with microbes. He said the same microbes can harm, he wanted to know why the same microbes that could harm one person but help another. And he wanted to know why. And he came up with the internal terrain. He said the environment is what determines whether microbes behave as helpers or troublemakers. And he lost in that argument. Louis Pasteur won. It was, germ theory. Everything's bad, sterilize. Um, but now they're starting to look back at Antonio's research and asking the question, did we get it wrong? Is it really germs that we need to be scared of? Or is it how these microbes are fed? Are we giving them sugar or are we giving them, a diversity in plants? And they change based on that. So it's really interesting what's coming out. And even though this was the 19th century, in today's world, it was just the early 2000s when they came up with these microscopes that you could see microorganisms moving and taking shapes. It used to be a microscope that just had very slight shapes, but now you can really see them, and that's pretty exciting.
Mm.
So the microbes are a big deal, and um, anybody can see microbes now. This is a if you wanted an exercise with your kids, or you wanted to just learn this yourself, uh, get a high powered microscope. Usually, you've got a friend that has one, or you
Mm-hmm.
can go to a school and borrow it and look at soil. Look at soil. Put some soil on a slide and look at it. And it could be soil from your backyard, it could be from a farm, whatever you see. And then incorporate microbes into the soil and go back and look at that soil 3 days later and see what happens. And how do you get microbes?
Mm.
So there's a fun way to get microbes, and that is you cook rice, you stick it in a basket, you take it out into the woods, you put it on the ground, cover it up with a box, wait 5 days, and microorganisms will make their way into this rice. You take the box off, you smell it, it smells sweet, sweet,
Mhm.
and it's
Mhm.
got a white, thin layer of lace. It's mycelium that's on this rice. You take that rice home, mix it with some brown sugar to shelf stabilize it, and then you can use that those microorganisms in your garden. And it's like 1 part microorganisms to 1,000 parts water. And within 3 days, there's a huge difference. They colonize on your ground. And what do microbes do? Microbes hold water. They fight the bad microorganisms out there as well as the bad bugs. They feed the trees, the plants, the vegetables that you're growing, and they add these microorganisms to your vegetables. So then when you pull them out of the ground or pick them, you wash them and then ferment them, and you've got a beautiful assortment of microbes that live in your jar. Or you
Wow.
take and you put it on a slide and then look under the microscope and you can see life. I mean, it's a crazy number. Uh, if you take microbial activity, right? So the forest, grab a handful of soil. There are more microbes in your handful of soil than there are people on this planet. It's huge and it
Um.
colonizes really fast. It's Mother Nature's way of keeping us all healthy, but we are fighting Mother Nature by
Mhm.
sterilizing and pasteurizing and vaccinating.
It's a form to help us. So, Miss Michelle, as an author, what are your short-term and long-term goals?
As an author, I'm sorry, what'd you ask?
What are your short-term and long-term goals?
Oh, that's a very, let's see, short term and long term goals. Well, getting my book live, I can't wait to share it.
Mm-hmm.
Other short term goals is I have a whole system around my book. My book is the philosophy. It kind of tells you what microbes are and how you can live with microbes and how to incorporate them into your body. I've got workshops, which is the how to, and this is a way of how to make all of these. And then I've got an app that is the live by, so you can track everything. And what do I mean by tracking? So there is this chart, it's called the Bristol chart, that's been around for many, many years. It's kind of ugly because it's a picture of poop, right? It's got
Mm-hmm.
all the different levels of poop. So I had my artist make a pretty picture of poop, um, and that's in my book. But that book tells you 1 to number 7. If you look at that, it'll pretty much tell you what's going on with your gut based on when you eliminate and how you eliminate. And then there's other questions in there like, does it sink or does it float? Does it smell or is it moderate? What color is it? What's the texture? All of these questions are in there. And on my app, you can actually track all of this, and then you can take that data to your doctor. And your doctor can give you a more informed information as to what's going on in your gut health. I think that's pretty exciting. And then I have fermentation kits. That's a new thing that I just rolled out, which is all about each month I send a box to you, and that box has everything you need to do to make a ferment. 1 month it's sauerkraut, another month it may be kimchi or kombucha or, uh, I have been a beekeeper for 20 years. So I also make June, Jun. And June is like the sister to kombucha. So you get some of my honey, you get the
Mm-hmm.
jars, you get testing strips, you get the green tea. All of that comes in the box because I believe The problem that everybody has with this fermentation is, ooh, I don't have the tools. Ooh, I don't know how to do this. I don't have the time. But if I bring it all to you, all you have to do is follow my steps. And most of the ferments that you do take no more than 10 minutes to put together. So that's my short term goal, is just getting all of that rolled out. My long term goal is to turn my book, The Guts of Fermentation, into a movement. I truly believe that we don't need supplements, we don't need pills, we don't need extra stuff. We need to go back to basics. We need to give ourselves some time and some patience and really let food be our medicine. And I'd love to see that happen.
Well, on Book 101 review, Miss Michelle, we support you for that advocacy, and we need you to be what uh, be part of my all my podcasts.
Absolutely.
100%, we support you, and you need a big applause for that. Advocacy for the world.
Wow, thank
Yeah,
you.
to thrive your advocacy. So, what will be your piece of advice for those people out there who want to be like you, having this advocacy?
Okay. Um, my advice is try to find a farmer, talk with a farmer, go to farmers markets, buy food that's grown organically and in non-tilled soils. Know that it's really difficult to ruin a fermented jar of food. Um, you can save money by using fermented foods to help heal your gut, not only by not utilizing supplements and pills, but by that one head of cabbage, just really quickly, a head of cabbage may cost $6. That head of cabbage, you can turn it into coleslaw, which has no nutritional benefits to it. But if you ferment that cabbage, oh, and if you do coleslaw, it like only gives you 20 servings. But if you could ferment that cabbage into sauerkraut, you'll get 120 servings. It'll last a year, and you only need to eat up to 2 tablespoons at a serving. And the biggest benefit is you change the nutritional aspect of that cabbage. When it's fermented, the salt and the microbes actually eat the sugar that's in that vegetable. So now all of a sudden, this vegetable becomes more ketogenic friendly, not it's not just a cabbage, it's not just considered carbs. So that's really cool. Getting my book, learning about fermentation, talking about it is something that I recommend. There is uh, a free download of a 2 week gutsy reset on my website, The Guts of Fermentation. You can download that, and that's a great way to start this program. It's a great way to get a little interested. You don't have to make your ferment, you can buy it. Just make sure that the label says raw. It has to say raw, because if it says process, pasteurize, ultra pasteurize, that's not truly live microorganisms that you can get into your belly.
Must be raw, people. And thank you for that advice, Miss Michelle. And before we wrap up our discussion for today, I'm inviting you to please do listen to my other podcast, people. My other podcast, because my abstract essay is already in sixth season, abstract poetry in third season, and of course my book 101 review in sixth season as well, comedy 101 in the third season, and my food 101 in its sixth season too. Geography 101 love letters, movie 101 review, music 101 our fifth season, science 101, sex 101 in fourth season, trivia 101, law 101, mental health 101, motivation 101, entrepreneurship 101, and Bible verses 101 are my baby podcasts. Please listen to them wherever you listen your podcast. So, Miss Michelle, to bring it home, if you could leave our listeners with one vivid metaphor or mental model to understand the importance of nurturing the guts fermentation, what would it be?
It would be, it would be, let me think here. You're not broken. Our food
Mm,
system's broken.
yes, definitely. We are not broken people. We are not. It so happened that our choices is not that good enough to support our gods. Miss Michelle, thank you so much for sharing your knowledge and wisdom to the world. I'm inviting you to please do come over to all my podcasts and let's talk about gods of fermentation. 100% I will support you for this advocacy. So can you please invite the listeners to support your upcoming book?
Thank you so much, Daniel. This has been a lot of fun.
Yes. So where do people will buy your book for the meantime?
Oh, you go to thegutsoffermentation.com. You can find it on the website, YouTube, Instagram, or you can send me an email at Michelle at
Mm,
thegutsoffermentation.com.
yes. Is it available on Amazon soon?
It will be soon. March
Mm,
1st, it'll be on Amazon.
yes, people, let's support Miss Michelle Heberling because if you support her, the guts of fermentation will implemented. So, Miss Michelle, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you, Daniel. Bye bye.
More to come, people. See you soon.